Do Not Love Half Lovers by Khalil Gibran. Do not love half lovers. Do not entertain half friends. Do not indulge in works of the half talented. Do not live half a life, and do not die a half death. If you choose silence, then be silent. When you speak, do so until you are finished. Do not silence yourself to say something, and do not speak to be silent. If you accept, then express it bluntly. Do not mask it. If you refuse, then be clear about it. For an ambiguous refusal is but a weak acceptance. Do not accept half a solution. Do not believe half truths. Do not dream half a dream. Do not fantasize about half hopes. Half a drink will not quench your thirst. Half a meal will not satiate your hunger. Half the way will get you nowhere. Half an idea will bear you no results. Your other half is not the one you love. It is you in another time, yet in the same place. It is you when you are not. Half a life is a life you didn't live. A word you have not said, a smile you postponed, a love you have not had, a friendship you did not know, to reach and not arrive, work and not work, attend only to be absent. What makes you a stranger to them closest to you, and they strangers to you? The half is a mere moment of inability. But you are able, for you are not half a being. You are a whole that exists. To live a life, not a half-life. Well, there you have it. So what's this all about? It's about, obviously, giving your all, going the whole way, not settling for half. Some of the lines that struck me were, do not entertain half friends. We need friends. Acquaintances are fine. Acquaintances are people you like, but you don't really include in your inner circle. They're fine if you have friends, but if that's all you have, it's a little bit sad. An ambiguous refusal is but a weak acceptance. Yeah, if you're going to refuse something, don't be wishy-washy about it. Just say, no thank you, I don't want that. Half a solution, nobody's going to be satisfied. It's like if you're married and you want to buy a car and you want a white car and your wife wants a black car, so you decide to get a gray car. So nobody gets what they want, but they've compromised. Like, what's the point of that? Or you like chocolate ice cream and the other person likes vanilla ice cream, so you decide to get strawberry ice cream. It makes no sense. Do not believe half-truths. Half a drink will not quench your thirst. Half a meal will not satiate your hunger. Half the way will get you nowhere. Wherever you want to go in life, if you think about your life from the point of view of being old, it's like thinking of your life in reverse. Think of yourself as a 90-year-old person. Where do you want to be? And then back engineer it to get yourself there. If you want to be comfortable, surrounded by family and friends, happy, satisfied, well, how are you going to do that? Well, this poem will help you think about that. Because doing things by half isn't going to do it. Your other half is not the one you love. People say, oh, this is my better half. This is my other half. You have to be a whole, and the other person has to be a whole, and the two of you together has to be a new whole. Half a life is a life you didn't live. Yeah, you got to go all in. You have to do what's going to make you happy. Or else you're just existing. You're not living. You're getting by. A word you have not said. If you have people in your life that you want to speak to, you're going to have to say it. You're going to have to try. This is tough. Change is very difficult. It's very easy to not change. It's very difficult to change. If you want to love in your life, then you have to go for it. If you want a friend, you have to go for it. To reach and not arrive. Yeah, if you want something, you really have to give it your all. To work and not work. Attend only to be absent. This is terrible. If you have a job and you just show up, but your mind is elsewhere, your heart is elsewhere, everything is elsewhere, then you are attending, but you are actually absent. And this isn't just a job. If you show up to an event or something like that, but you're really absent, you basically have to focus on the here and now. If you're into something, you can reflect on things when you have the time at the end of the day or whatever, but when you're there, you have to be present. You have to try your best. It's like in The Karate Kid when Daniel is making his pact with Mr. Miyagi, and Mr. Miyagi says either karate yes or karate no. No karate maybe. You're either on the left side of the road or you're on the right side of the road. If you're in the middle of the road, sooner or later, just like grape. That's what he's talking about. In Breaking Bad, Mike says to the protagonist, no more half measures. He did a half measure in his past. He didn't do his best. He didn't do his all. And he lost his son, I believe, was the storyline. It's either we're going to do this or we're not. We're not just going to go, whatever. Because when you do that, he says, it makes you a stranger to you, to them closest to you, and they strangers to you. The half is a mere moment of inability. But you are able, for you are not half a being. So you can do it. But you don't want to live a half life. You want to live a life. And in order to do that, you have to try. You have to be there. You have to be brave. If you see that person that you like, you have to risk it. If you go to the gym, you have to try. Always try your best. Now, sometimes you're exhausted, sometimes you have injuries, sometimes you're sick. So you need days of rest as well. But when you picture that person you want to be, And when you picture yourself as an old person at the end of your life, and you see that person clearly, what do you want? Well, to get those things, you have to give it your all. You have to be there. If you have a job you don't like, you still have to try your best and try to get out of that job. It's difficult when you're older, but when you're young, think about the career you want and go for it. It's very easy to say, this is good enough. I'm satisfied. I could do that, but is it worth the work? Well, sadly, it has to be worth the work. Because if it's not, then you're going to basically live a half-life. It's one thing to have tried and strived and achieved, and then to lose it, and then have to live a half-life later. At least you can look back and say, there was a time when I had done it. But if you want a good mind, it's like Candide says in Voltaire's novel, Candide. You have to weed your garden. And he's talking about the walled garden, which is your brain inside your skull. You have to be very careful of your thoughts. You have to pull out the bad thoughts. You have to put in the good thoughts. This takes effort. This takes learning. This takes study. It's very easy to get caught up in ideologies and foolish, trendy ways of thinking. You know, just for instance, like this fat acceptance movement or something like this. That's a very lazy way of thinking. Yes, we should accept people, but when you lower the standards for things and make unacceptable things acceptable because you don't want to hurt someone's feelings, well, life is about hurt feelings. Life is about pain in a lot of ways. If you want to be in shape, if you want to be fit, you have to do what you don't want to do. Nobody likes exercise. The famous quote by Muhammad Ali where he says, he hated every minute of training, but he wanted to be a champion, and he wanted to be remembered forever as a champion. This is the price. Nothing is free. If you want easy and free, you're going to be dissatisfied, and you're not going to be a disciplined person. Some people are lucky. They get everything handed to them. Some people are unlucky. They get nothing handed to them. But if you just sit there and accept without striving and trying and being the best version of yourself, you're never going to be the best version of yourself. You can always improve, but you have to envision the best version of yourself and strive for that and try to be the best version of yourself. And it's hard to say no to junk food. It's hard to eat healthy. It's hard to get your exercise in, especially when your friends are eating junk food and being lazy and things like that, not exercising. But you have time. You're not responsible for your friends. You're responsible for yourself. And as we've spoken about many times, basically all we have in this world, we have our bodies, we have our minds, and we have our relationships. Everything else we can achieve, but in reality, you have to learn to control your mind. Your mind controls the body. This is the weeding of the garden. And you have to force yourself to do what you don't want to do, whether it's exercise, eat right, talk to the person that you want to meet, study the course of study you want to study. These are all skills. And what a skill is something that if you practice, you'll get better at it. Talent is different. Talent is the level you're at, naturally. We have our aptitudes. We have areas where we're naturally good at. And if you have a high talent in a certain ability, well, you can still develop skill in that ability by practicing and practicing and practicing. For instance, if you have a talent in music and I don't, well, if you don't practice, I can probably catch up and probably surpass you just through hard work. But if we both work hard, the more talented person is going to rise to the top. But when you think about what can be avoided and what can be pursued, sadly, something like 9 out of the top 10 causes of death are industrial diseases, which means lifestyle, cancer, heart disease, diabetes, things like these. Most of this can be avoided through proper diet, exercise, proper sleep, proper choices. I mean, obviously, some of us have predetermined genetic affinity to certain diseases, but some of this can be changed or put off or managed. But a lot of us don't, but we can catch these diseases through lifestyle choices, whether it's eating junk food, smoking, certain drugs, not sleeping enough, stress, things like this. Anyway, this video is getting long. If you enjoyed that poem, you can listen to the first half of this video over and over again, and this last half of the video you can listen to when you feel like it. But we'll cut it short here, so until next time, who loves you, baby? This guy. Don't forget about it. Remember, you're somebody's favorite person in this world, and that's probably me. Think about this poem. Think about your life. This poem will be here for you. I'll be here for you. And if you're going through tough times, remember, we can think, try to think positive. We can wait, try to endure. And we can fast, which is enduring the hard times. And until next time, goodbye. Love you.